Forest Service, and many tribal nations. In 1996, the site was named a National Historic Landmark and a Traditional Cultural Property, recognizing its double value as a heritage site and a sacred place. Protective fencing and viewing spots were added to prevent damage while allowing respectful access for native ceremonies and public learning. Despite science studies, the wheel's original builders, exact age, and full purpose stay unknown, leaving room for both expert debate and spiritual view. The mix of star exactness with cultural symbols suggests the wheel might have served many purposes: religious, star-related, and social, all woven within a whole worldview, deeply in tune with nature and the cosmos. As modern life gets more cut off from the natural cycles of earth and sky, the Bighorn medicine wheel gives a humble reminder of a time when people lived in close balance with their surroundings. For the tribes of Montana and beyond, it remains a sacred marker of identity, heritage, and the lasting presence of the ancestors. For others, it is a strong symbol of ancient knowing and spiritual insight that goes beyond time and culture. In the end, the Bighorn medicine wheel is not meant to be fully solved. It invites thought, respect, and humility. Whether seen through the lens of science, history, or spirituality, it keeps stirring the mind and the soul, standing as one of the most deep and lasting ancient mysteries of the American West. The Shanken Sag, Montana's Ice Age mystery. Among the many dramatic landshapes of Montana, the Shanken Sag stands out not only for its huge size, but also for the lasting landform puzzles it presents. Cutting a wide path through central Montana's landscape, the Shanken Sag is an old glacial meltwater channel formed during the fading thousands of years of the last ice age. Though it now lies dry and quiet, this massive land feature hints at a time of wild climate change when huge ice sheets and disaster floods reshaped the earth. Bigger than any modern river in the region, the Shanken Sag remains a monument to nature's forces whose full effect we are still trying to understand. Stretching over 100 miles across the northern edge of the Highwood Mountains and into the Missouri River Valley, the Shanken Sag reaches widths of several miles in spots and drops hundreds of feet below the surrounding plains. Its sheer size defies quick explanation. The channel is far too large to have been made by any current river system in Montana. Instead, it is a leftover from a time when ice sheets thousands of feet thick covered much of North America, and the melting of these glaciers let loose fast rushing waters, scouring the land with unstoppable force. The Shanken Sag was most likely formed during the Pleistocene time, the land period from about 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. During the last glacial peak, much of northern Montana was covered by the Laurentide ice sheet, a massive glacier that reached as far south as the Missouri River. As the climate warmed, the glacier began to pull back, and huge amounts of meltwater gathered along its southern edge. Sometimes, ice would act as a dam, forming huge proglacial lakes. One such body, Glacial Lake Great Falls, is thought to have formed near present-day Great Falls, Montana. In time, these ice dams would fail, sometimes suddenly letting loose great floods across the land. These glacial outburst floods, also called J-Kukulops, released unbelievable water volumes, with flow rates far beyond anything seen in modern rivers. It is these disaster events that land scientists believe carved the Shanken Sag. Water from melting glaciers rushed through this low path, wearing rock, digging deep channels, and moving silt across great distances. Yet, despite years of study, many parts of the Shanken Sag's formation stay unclear. For example, scientists still debate the exact source of the water that carved the channel. Was it only from Lake Great Falls, or did it include meltwater from other glacial lakes to the north or west? The water volume needed to shape such a huge feature is also still argued. Some guesses suggest flow rates matching those of the prehistoric Missoula floods that reshaped the Pacific Northwest, though clear comparisons are hard due to the complex land and broken land evidence. Adding another layer of interest to the Shanken Sag is the presence of shankenite, a rare and old volcanic rock found along parts of the Sag. This dark, coarse-grained igneous rock comes from one of the few known shankenite outflows in North America, located in the Highwood Mountains. The presence of this unusual rock formation within the Sag has drawn land scientists' attention for over a century, giving clues about the region's volcanic history along with its glacial past. Today, the Shanken Sag appears as a broad, dry valley, its dramatic origin story hidden under the quiet grasslands and farmlands of central Montana. To the untrained eye, it may look like a natural dip or an unusually large wash. However, satellite images and land maps show its amazing size and length. Though the channel now holds no major river, it is a strong reminder of the passing, yet powerful forces of Ice Age land science. The area is of great interest not only to professional land scientists, but also to teachers, students, and amateur scientists. Field trips and research projects often use the Shanken Sag as a case study for understanding ancient water flow, glacial land science, and disaster flood events. As our grasp of climate change and its history deepens, sites like the Shanken Sag offer priceless insight into how Earth systems react to fast environmental shifts. In recent years, tech like LiDAR mapping, silt study, and remote sensing have let researchers rebuild parts of the ancient land more accurately. These tools are helping to unravel the mysteries of the Shanken Sag, giving a clearer picture of the massive and violent floods that once rushed through it. Still, many questions remain, and each find often raises new puzzles, strengthening the Sag's status as one of Montana's great natural puzzles. In closing, the Shanken Sag is more than just a land shape. It is a silent witness to a world changed by ice, water, and time. It challenges our views of land change, showing how short moments in Earth's history can leave behind features that last for tens of thousands of years. As one of the largest and least understood glacial meltwater channels in North America, the Shanken Sag keeps fascinating scientists and stirring the imagination of anyone who walks along its vast and ancient floor. The Montana megaliths, natural wonder or lost people, in the rough mountains and deep forests near Helena, Montana, a set of unusual rock shapes has sparked strong debate, interest, and even argument. Known together as the Montana megaliths, these massive stone structures have become the subject of competing stories, one based in standard land science, the other in alternative archaeology. To some, the shapes are simply natural outcrops shaped by erosion and time. To others, they are the ruins of an ancient technology-advanced people, lost to history and forgotten by science. No matter where one stands, the Montana megaliths remain one of the state's most discussed and mysterious sites. The term Montana megaliths refers to a group of stone shapes in the Helena National Forest and nearby areas, including spots with catchy names like Tiza Dolmen, Mothership, Sleeping Giant, and Bigfoot Ridge. Many of these shapes feature massive stone blocks, some looking stacked or lined in deliberate patterns. Some watchers claim the rocks show signs of tool marks, geometric balance, and faces or figures carved into stone. Proof, they say, of smart design. Fringe researchers and independent explorers have grabbed onto these features too. Suggest the Montana megaliths are the leftovers of a prehistoric people, maybe one older than known native cultures. Some have even guessed the structures are over 10,000 years old, built by a lost global culture that left similar monuments across the planet. Comparisons are often made to the megalithic sites of Europe, South America, and Egypt, with claims that Montana could have its own version of Stonehenge, or Göbekli Tepe. Much of the current interest in the Montana megaliths comes from the work of Julie Ryder, an independent researcher who has recorded the sites through photos, videos, and writing. Ryder argues the shapes show clear signs of human building and advanced knowledge of stars, geometry, and sacred geometry. Her ideas have gained ground among groups interested in alternative history, New Age beliefs, and ancient alien guesses. However, the claims around the Montana megaliths have met with strong doubt from standard archaeologists, land scientists, and scientists. According to professionals, the shapes are most likely the result of natural land processes, including frost cracking, erosion, and earth plate fracturing. Montana's landscape is known for its dramatic land science, shaped by volcano activity, glacial movement, and centuries of weathering. The Helena Formation especially holds layers of sedimentary and metamorphic rock, likely to break into angled shapes that can copy human-made features. Experts say the look of balance or lining in these rock shapes does not necessarily mean plant design. The human brain is wired to see patterns, a thing called pareidolia, which can lead us to see faces, figures, or structures in random natural features. Similar misreadings have happened at other land sites, where weathered rocks are mistaken for ancient ruins or carvings. Despite the doubt, the Montana megaliths keep drawing attention from both curious tourists and supporters of alternative history. Montana, Big Sky Country, a land of wild beauty, open wilderness, and secrets buried long ago. From strange carvings hidden in sacred canyons, to huge flood scars left by Ice Age disasters, to stone layouts some call Montana's very own Stonehenge. For hundreds of years, odd finds have puzzled science, fed stories, and left more questions than answers. Are these pieces of lost peoples, natural wonders, or hints of something even more unusual? Medicine Rocks, Montana's holy sandstone puzzle. Hidden in the southeast corner of Montana, near the little town of Ekalaka, in Carter County is a secret treasure of both land formation and spiritual history. Medicine Rocks State Park. This far-off and eye-catching place is made of tall sandstone shapes that rise sharply from the flat prairie. Worn by time and weather into arches, points, and pitted columns, these rocks hold more than just pretty views. They have deep cultural and sacred meaning. For centuries, Medicine Rocks has been a place of respect, thought, and mystery, making it one of Montana's most interesting ancient spots. As a landform, the shapes at Medicine Rocks go back about 60 million years to the Paleocene time. These sandstone outcrops were made from silt, left by old rivers, and later carved by erosion. What is left today is a strange, dreamy area of soft tan rock that looks more like something from a sci-fi movie than the American plains. The hole-filled and carved structures seem as if nature carefully cut every crack and arch, giving the place an almost church-like feel. But beyond the physical beauty of the rock shapes lies a deeper, stronger meaning. Long before European settlers ever came to the region, native tribes saw Medicine Rocks as a sacred and spiritually strong place. The spot was used by several plains tribes like the Cheyenne, Crow, Sioux, Lakota, and Sioux. The very name Medicine Rocks comes from the native idea of medicine, not the modern healing kind, but a word for spiritual power and supernatural energy. People believed the land itself held this power, gathered, alive, and ready for those who came looking for vision, guidance, or healing. From spoken history, Medicine Rocks was a place where warriors and holy people went for vision quests. Spiritual trips involving fasting, prayer, and being alone. These quests were personal rites of passage and a way to get divine messages or insight into one's life path. The landscape, with its quiet isolation, odd rock shapes, and wide skies, gave a powerful setting for such thoughtful and mystical experiences. One of the most grabbing parts of Medicine Rocks is the many petroglyphs, rock carvings, and markings that cover many surfaces. These ancient pictures show animals, human shapes, hunting scenes, and abstract geometric designs. While some carvings are hundreds of years old and clearly native, others stay mysterious with unknown makers and meanings. Some researchers think they might show spiritual visions, tribal tales, or even star markers. Though no agreement has been reached, this uncertainty adds an air of mystery and depth, inviting wonder and study. Over time, as settlers moved west in the 19th and early 20th centuries, they too left their mark on the rocks. Cowboys, travelers, and pioneers carved names and dates into the stone, sometimes right next to ancient symbols. These newer markings, while often seen as graffiti, now form a visible history record across centuries, mixing sacred native carvings with settler-era signatures. Though debated, this layered history shows the changing human link to the place. Despite its importance, Medicine Rocks stays mostly undeveloped and lightly visited. It was made a Montana State Park in 1957, and in 2017 it was added to the National Register of Historic Places as a traditional cultural property. This label notes the area's value to Native American spiritual practices and helps guard it from building and harm. The park covers about 330 acres and gives a quiet, respectful setting for hiking, watching wildlife, and peaceful thought. The park is also home to varied plants and animals. Mule deer, eagles, hawks, and even rare mountain lions live in the region. Old juniper trees twist up among the rocks, and native grasses wave in the steady prairie breeze. The natural setting boosts the spiritual feel, strengthening the sense that you have stepped into a timeless space, far from the noise of today's world. Now, Medicine Rocks continues to be a place of spiritual and cultural meaning. Members of local tribes still visit the area for prayer and ceremony, keeping an unbroken tie to the sacred ways of their ancestors. Visitors are asked to treat the land with respect, not just as a state park, but as a living cultural site. There are no flashy signs or big tourist draws here, just the wind, the stone, and the stories carved into them. In a world often ruled by fast change and noise, Medicine Rocks offers something rare: stillness, depth, and ancient connection. Its softly worn stones tell of times passing, of cultures long gone, and still here, and of the mysterious bond between people and the land. Whether seen through a landform, historical, or spiritual view, Medicine Rocks stands as a reminder of how nature and humanity are forever linked. It is not just a bunch of curious rocks. It is a church of memory and mystery, echoing the silent prayers of those who came before. The Bighorn Medicine Wheel, a sacred circle of stone and sky. High on top the Bighorn Mountains, near the border of Montana and Wyoming, lies one of North America's most puzzling and sacred native structures, the Bighorn Medicine Wheel. Sitting at nearly 10,000 feet up, this ancient stone monument is both a spiritual center and a star study mystery. Though it sits physically in Wyoming, the medicine wheel holds deep cultural meaning for several Native American tribes in Montana, including the Crow, Cheyenne, Blackfeet, and Shoshone. For centuries, it has been a place for vision quests, ceremony offerings, and quiet respect. Today, it stands not only as a lasting link to Native star beliefs, but also as a puzzle that is still not fully solved. The Bighorn medicine wheel is made of a big circular layout of stones, about 80 feet across, centered around a pile of rocks with 28 spokes going outward. Around the edge are 6 smaller rock piles, whose positions might have star meaning. The structure is thought to be between 300 and 800 years old, though some researchers think parts could be much older, maybe going back over 1,000 years. Its builders are unknown, but it is likely the result of additions and rebuilds over generations by native peoples of the northern plains. The purpose of the medicine wheel is still argued among archaeologists, star scientists, and tribal historians. One of the most interesting theories comes from star watchers who have studied the site closely. In the 1970s, Jack Eddy, a star scientist, suggested that the wheel's rock piles line up with the rising and setting points of the sun, and key stars, like Aldebaran, Rigel, and Sirius, as well as the summer solstice, sunrise, and sunset. The 28 spokes might also stand for the moon cycle. If right, this would place the wheel as a kind of star observatory made, not with modern tools, but with a deep sky knowledge passed through spoken tradition and sharp watching. While the star view adds science interest for Native American tribes, the spiritual meaning of the Bighorn medicine wheel goes beyond measure or study. The wheel is a sacred site for ceremonies, often used for prayer, fasting, and offerings. Tribes believe the structure is a place where the earthly and spiritual worlds meet, where people can seek visions, guidance, or healing. The medicine wheel stands for the circle of life, the 4 directions, and how all things are connected, core ideas in many native belief systems. Offerings like tobacco ties, eagle feathers, beads, and prayer cloths are still regularly placed on the stones and nearby fence. These offerings stand for prayers or hopes, and their presence shows the site is not just a historical item, but a living sacred space. Tribal members from Montana and nearby states keep visiting and doing traditional practices at the wheel, making sure its cultural life is kept. Getting to the wheel is not easy. Located in the Bighorn National Forest, visitors must walk a 1.5-mile path from a parking area near the Bighorn Scenic Highway. The trip, though, adds to the sense of pilgrimage. As you climb, the land opens into high meadows and wide views that stretch into Montana, giving an awe-inspiring background to a site rooted in spiritual power and star mystery. The care of the Bighorn medicine wheel has been a shared effort between the youth. Fog, moonlight, and water reflections can easily twist sight, especially in the wilderness alone. Steamboats were common on the Missouri River in the 1800s, and the image of one could stay in the shared memory. Strengthened by stress, superstition, or even tiredness, the mind, ready by expectation or fear, could project such visions in moments of strong feeling or environmental trick. Others point to the power of folklore itself. In towns where death was frequent and often sudden due to illness, harsh winters, or violent fights, stories like the ghost ship gave a way to handle grief, fate, and life's unpredictability. By turning tragedy into legend, people gave meaning to the unknowable and found a story shape to hold their fears. Yet, despite these logical reasons, sightings of the ghost ship have continued well into the 20th century, though less often. Reports have come from fishermen, hikers, and river guides claiming to see something odd on the water, often with an eerie quiet and a sense of dread. The lack of physical proof, far from breaking the myth, seems only to boost its place as an unsolvable puzzle. After all, true ghost stories often last not because they can be proved, but because they fight explanation. Today, the ghost ship of the Missouri River lives on in local talk, ghost tours, and regional storytelling. A fixed part of Montana's shadowy folklore, it holds a special place in the state's fabric of ancient mysteries. Standing between legend and legacy, history and imagination, for those drawn to the mystical or the spooky, the ghost ship works as a reminder that some stories last as long as the rivers that carry them. In closing, the ghost ship of the Missouri River may never be proven real in the science sense, but in the cultural mind of Montana, it is as real as the river itself. Whether a trick of light, a symbol of death, or a spiritual echo of ages past, the ghost ship keeps haunting the flow of both water and memory. It is a story that won't fade, and maybe that is its true power. a mystery that floats just out of reach, forever part of the river's current. The Anaconda copper mine oddities, finding land and historical puzzles. Montana is a state rich with history, mineral wealth, and land wonder. At the center of this meeting lies the Anaconda copper mine, once a symbol of American industrial power, and now a site wrapped in guesswork and interest. Though it was one of the world's biggest copper makers, recent notice has shifted from its money impact to the land oddities it has shown. As mining dug deep into the earth, they uncovered shapes that challenge usual explanations and usual rock patterns, ancient seeming structures, and layering quirks that have puzzled land scientists and grabbed alternative researchers. These finds have led to ideas ranging from misunderstood land processes to claims of prehistoric peoples buried below the surface. Whether these oddities show natural forces or lost chapters of human history, the Anaconda mine presents a strong case study in how mystery can come from even the most industrial places. At its working peak in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Anaconda mine was a giant of copper removal. Located in a mountain region of western Montana, it formed the base of the Anaconda Copper Mining Company, one of the strongest industrial forces of its time. But as the mine grew, workers and land scientists began seeing strange features in the exposed rock. Some included deeply folded layers, upright sedimentary bands, and unusual mineral shapes that did not match expected land patterns. These oddities started debate. Were these simply from Montana's complex land history, or did they hint at something more? Mainstream land scientists explain these shapes through the region's known land setting. The Anaconda area sits within the boulder batholith, a huge body of igneous rock formed during strong volcano and earth plate activity in the late Cretaceous time. Over millions of years, hot water processes, earth crystal shifts, and metamorphic change have made complex, even messy layering in the rock. The use of heavy mining gear and blasts may have further twisted the rock's natural position, making cracks and lines that copy planned patterns. According to science agreement, these seeming oddities are the result of a high-energy setting, not the leftovers of ancient building or lost peoples. Yet, not all watchers are happy with these reasons. Some independent researchers and alternative thinkers argue that certain shapes within the mine go beyond what natural land science alone can make. Reports from early miners and visitors describe angled stone blocks, honeycomb-like rock grids, and toolmark-like scratches in otherwise solid bedrock. These features, say supporters of alternative ideas, look like human-made structures, maybe the fallen ruins of a prehistoric people that once thrived in North America long before known native cultures. Some even guess these oddities point to a technology-advanced society, lost to disaster or time, suggesting Montana's mountains may hold secrets like the tales of Atlantis. Adding weight to these ideas are unproven local stories about odd objects found during early diggersdoms, said to have been taken and never listed. While no checked records of such things exist, the secrecy around mining work in the early 20th century leaves room for guesswork. These tales, passed down in local folklore, add to the site's air of mystery. As with many unexplained things, the lack of proof is seen by believers not as disproof, but as further sign of a cover-up or forgotten truth. The pull between science, doubt, and guesswork view shows a wider cultural dynamic. On one side are land scientists committed to real data and careful thinking, who see the oddities as quirks of an unusually active land setting. On the other side are those driven by curiosity and a sense of historical chance, who see these features as hints of a deeply buried story waiting to be found. In between are the many people drawn to the site not by science or conspiracy, but by the pure artistic and symbolic power of these rock-shaped symbols, of both Earth's natural history and its mysterious potential. Whether one sees the Anaconda oddities as land puzzles or ancient remains, there is no doubt they ask for more study. As new tech, like 3D below-ground mapping, LiDAR, and mineral spectroscopy becomes easier to get, future researchers may get new insight into the shapes hidden under Anaconda's surface. These tools could give clearer answers about the formation of the rock layers, and possibly end long debates about whether what looks human-made is truly natural. In closing, the Anaconda copper mine oddities show how even industrial places can become centers of mystery. What was once only a place of removal has become a focus for questions about Earth's deep past, and humanity's possible part in shaping it. While mainstream science keeps giving likely land reasons, alternative ideas remind us of the limits of current understanding and the human wish to find stories hidden in stone. No matter the true start of these oddities, they have succeeded in turning a historic mine into a modern puzzle, one that challenges how we see history, nature, and the blurry lines between them. The creepy carvings of the Pryor Mountains, symbols beyond time. Tucked away in the far and rough land of southern Montana, the Pryor Mountains rise like old guards above the plains. This limestone range is more than just a land marvel. It is a place filled with mystery, spirituality, and lasting questions. Among its many puzzling features are a set of strange, deeply cut carvings in rock faces, often called more complex, spooky, or unclear than typical Native American petroglyphs found elsewhere in the region. Called by some the creepy carvings of the Pryor Mountains, these pictures have interested archaeologists, confused visitors, and held sacred meaning for Native communities, especially the Crow Nation, for generations. The Crow people, Apsaluk, who have lived in the area for centuries, see the Pryor Mountains as a sacred landscape central to their cultural and spiritual ways. These mountains are not only places of physical safety, but also sites for vision quests, healing ceremonies, and talk with the spirit world. Many of the carvings found in the area are closely tied to these practices, symbols of spiritual experiences, or records of trips taken by people seeking guidance from supernatural forces. Yet, not all carvings fit neatly with Crow picture writing or spoken history, leading some to think that the start of certain petroglyphs may go back even before Crow living in the region. The carvings themselves range widely in style and content. Some show animal shapes, human-like forms, and spirals come on ideas across many native rock art traditions. Others, however, seem odd. Visitors and amateur researchers have noted carvings with unusually deep cuts, abstract or geometric patterns not easily linked to tribal symbols, and faces or human-like shapes that look clearly different from traditional plains art. Some pictures are called unsettling, even creepy, hence the name often used for them. One especially puzzling example includes a human-like figure with two large eyes and long limbs, carved in a style that does not match other rock art traditions of the American West. Another shows a set of locking triangles and boxy marks, looking more like building plans than shamanic pictures. While hard to tell the exact age of these carvings, due to erosion and lack of organic material for carbon dating, some researchers have guessed they could be thousands of years old, possibly made by earlier cultures, now lost to history. From a mainstream archaeology view, the Pryor Mountains and their carvings are part of a rich native cultural landscape, one that includes both spiritual meaning and long-term living. Archaeologists working in the area have found many camp spots, burial sites, and trails, showing the mountains have been a crossing for many tribes over thousands of years, including the Crow, Shoshone, and other pre-contact peoples. Rock art in this setting is often seen as a form of talk, spiritual recording, or landmarking. However, some of the more puzzling carvings fight easy sorting. The internet has played a key role in boosting interest, with videos, blogs, and social media posts showing the dramatic pictures and provoking ideas. While these ideas are not backed by peer-reviewed study or academic groups, they add to a larger cultural interest in hidden history and the chance that standard science has missed important clues about our past. From a cultural view, the debate over the Montana megaliths shows wider tensions between established knowledge and independent search. On one side, strict science method relies on repeatable proof, peer review, and agreement building. On the other, independent researchers often say that new ideas and finds come from questioning authority and exploring unusual thoughts. The Montana megaliths sit at this crossing, a battleground between science and guess. What stays not argued is that the region around Helena is land-rich and eye-catching. Whether natural or human-made, the shapes have a strong artistic and symbolic presence. Many visitors describe the sites as peaceful, energetic, or even sacred, no matter their origin. Some native communities also hold the land as spiritually important, though they do not link the shapes to the ancient peoples proposed by fringe ideas. As of now, no formal archaeological dig has been done at the sites linked to the Montana megaliths. Without careful study, the claims of ancient buildings stay unproven. However, the ongoing interest may one day prompt a deeper look, either to confirm a natural origin or to find something unexpected under the surface. In closing, the Montana megaliths remain an open mystery. For standard scientists, they are examples of striking but natural land science. For alternative thinkers, they are tempting clues to a forgotten chapter of human history. And for many visitors, they are simply places of beauty, wonder, and possibility. Without final answers, the Montana megaliths ask us to wonder about the past, the limits of knowledge, and the stories the land itself might be trying to tell. Pictograph Cave State Park, Montana's old canvas of mystery. Just a few miles southeast of Billings, Montana, lies a place of quiet beauty and deep archaeological meaning. Pictograph Cave State Park, set in a sandstone cliff overlooking the Yellowstone Valley. This park holds a series of rock shelters decorated with over 100 ancient pictographs, some thought to be more than 2,000 years old. These bright pictures, painted in red, white, and black mineral colors, give a rare and moving window into the far past. Yet, despite years of study, many questions about the sites start. The people who painted the symbols and the meanings behind them stay unanswered. So, Pictograph Cave keeps standing as one of Montana's most interesting and lasting historical puzzles. Pictograph Cave State Park includes 3 separate caves: Pictograph Middle and Ghost Caves, though most archaeological interest focuses on Pictograph Cave itself. The cave walls are decorated with pictures showing animals, human shapes, shields, and abstract symbols. The red-colored bison, ghostly outlines, and puzzling lines drawn across the cave wall offer hints of the people who lived, hunted, and worshipped in this region long before written history. However, most of these pictures were made without any written language or context explanation, making understanding both hard and guesswork. Carbon dating and archaeological digs suggest human use of the caves spans thousands of years. Items found at the site include stone tools, fire pits, bone pieces, shell beads, and even weapons, all pointing to a long and steady use of the caves as shelter and ceremony space. Some of the oldest items go back over 4,500 years, while the pictographs themselves are believed made between 2,000 and 250 years ago, likely by ancestors of modern Native American tribes. The identity of the cave artists is still a matter of expert debate, though the Crow, Cheyenne, and other Northern Plains tribes all hold spoken history tied to the region. Some researchers think the caves may have been used as a spiritual site for vision quests, where people would seek contact with the spirit world through being alone and fasting. The pictographs might show visions seen during such quests, hunting magic meant to call game animals, or tribal records of battles and ceremonies. Yet without a clear cultural or language key to read the symbols, these views remain guesses. Adding to the interest is the lack of sameness in the pictures. Unlike many ancient art sites, where themes stay consistent, the pictographs in Pictograph Cave show a mix of art styles, color types, and symbolic parts. This variety may mean many cultural groups used the cave over time, each leaving their own visual mark. Or, it could point to changing spiritual or cultural practices within the same community. Either way, the result is a layered mix of human expression across the stone canvas. The site first drew science attention in the 1930s, when archaeologists did wide digs and preservation work. These early digs uncovered over 30,000 items, making Pictograph Cave one of the most important archaeological sites in Montana. However, early dig methods were not always as exact as modern ways, and some context may have been lost. Today, the site is protected and watched, with focus on care and learning rather than digging. In 1964, the area was officially named a state park, and later listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Now, the park has a visitor center with learning displays, a walking trail past the caves, and signs that teach guests about the site's history and cultural meaning. Despite the park's small size, 23 acres, it gives a deep and thoughtful experience for those who walk its paths and look upon its ancient arts. Pictograph Cave keeps drawing archaeologists, historians, and native communities who see the site not just as a historical item, but as a living symbol of cultural identity. Tribal members, especially from the Crow Nation, have said the cave holds spiritual meaning, even if the meanings of the paintings have been partly lost to time. So, the park works not only as a public heritage site, but also as a place of cultural respect. The care of Pictograph Cave remains an ongoing challenge. Natural erosion, temperature changes, and human activity have all hurt the fragile colors and rock surfaces. Care efforts now focus on limiting more damage, while letting the public keep experiencing the site in a respectful and informed way. In closing, Pictograph Cave State Park is far more than a set of prehistoric drawings. It is a deep sign of the lives, beliefs, and art of Montana's earliest people. The mysterious pictures in stone keep inspiring awe, curiosity, and respect, even as their full meanings escape modern understanding. As both a cultural touchstone and an archaeological treasure, Pictograph Cave asks us to look back across thousands of years, and remember that the wish to leave a mark, to tell a story, and to seek meaning in the world is as old as humanity itself. The ghost ship of the Missouri River, Montana's phantom warning. In the world of Montana's ancient mysteries, few tales stir the mind like that of the ghost ship of the Missouri River, a spooky story told across generations. This ghostly steamboat is said to show up without warning, moving silently through the mist along the Missouri's flow. With no rower, no steam, and no earthly reason, the ghost ship has been called a sign of death or disaster, haunting the waters between Fort Benton and the Great Falls. While no physical proof of its being has ever been found, the story has lasted for well over 100 years, rooted in Native American spoken tradition, backed by settler stories, and carried on by today's interest in the paranormal. The first written sightings of the ghost ship go back to the 19th century, during Montana's frontier growth. As the Missouri River became a key travel route for fur traders, gold miners, and settlers, river traffic grew, especially with the rise of steamboat travel. Among these rough trips, stories started of a ghostly paddle wheeler wrapped in fog that would appear and disappear just as fast, often leaving watchers shaken or silent. Descriptions of the boat vary in detail, but share common traits. An old-style steamboat, often glowing with a ghostly light, showing up on calm nights or during storms, and moving silently against the current. The most upsetting part of these sightings is the pattern of bad luck said to follow them. Watchers often said that soon after seeing the ghost ship, someone in their group, or even in the nearby town, would get sick, have a deadly accident, or suffer some terrible misfortune. So, the ghost ship got a name not just as a curiosity, but as a death warning. One of the most lasting stories involves a sighting near Fort Benton, Montana's old river port. From local talk, a crewman said he saw the ghostly steamer drifting downstream one foggy evening. Within days, an illness spread through the camp, taking several lives. Though unverified, this and similar tales became part of regional folklore, passed down in families and retold in hushed voices around fires. The story is not only from settler accounts. Native American tribes, especially the Blackfeet and Gros Ventre, have their own stories of spirit canoes, or boats carrying the souls of the dead. In some views, the ghost ship is seen not as a Western-style steamboat, but as a spirit vessel, taking the dead across the river to the afterlife. This spiritual side adds more depth to the mystery, and suggests the roots of the story may go back before European settlement. Doubters, of course, say the ghost ship can be explained by a mix of natural events and mind tricks. This has led to a range of alternative ideas. Fringe researchers have suggested links to prehistoric lost peoples, alien contact, or even Atlantean survivors, saying the stranger carvings show signs of advanced geometry, or picture writing not matching local traditions. These ideas stay unproven, and are usually dismissed by the academic world, but they show a wider human interest in symbols we don't fully get. What adds difficulty to the story is how these carvings aren't part of local native traditions. While many Crow elders know the spiritual importance of the carvings, some also admit that certain symbols feel foreign or outside known spoken history. This has led to the belief that some pictures could have been left by earlier dwellers, the memory of whom has faded from the cultural record. Whether these were ancestors of today's tribes, or totally different peoples, is unknown. Despite the interest, many carvings stay hard to reach or unrecorded, hidden deep in mountain canyons, or on private or tribal lands. This inaccessibility has both protected and hidden them, limiting academic study while letting folklore and guesswork grow. Work to record the carvings is also balanced by the need to respect native control and cultural rules, which rightly put spiritual care over science search. In the end, the creepy carvings of the Praya Mountains offer a strong mix of archaeological mystery and spiritual depth. They are a reminder that not all history can be easily read, and that some symbols fight being reduced to data points or neat stories, whether made by ancient tribes, unknown peoples, or misunderstood cultural processes. These carvings challenge our grasp of the region's past and ask for deeper thought on the nature of meaning, memory, and mystery. The ancient Lake Missoula floods, Montana's Ice Age deluge, and its lasting puzzles. During the last Ice Age, about 15,000 to 13,000 years ago, the land of western Montana was ruled by a huge body of water, now called Glacial Lake Missoula, held back by a towering ice dam over half a mile high. This lake covered much of today's Missoula Valley and stretched across several thousand square miles. When that ice dam broke from time to time, it let loose one of the worst flood events in Earth's history, a thing so powerful and large, it reshaped big parts of the Pacific Northwest. Known together as the Missoula floods, these events are now seen as one of the most important land processes of the Pleistocene time. Yet despite years of study, big mysteries remain about how often, how big, and the wider climate effects of these ancient floods. The being of Glacial Lake Missoula was first suggested in the early 20th century by land scientist J. Harlan Bretz, who had been studying the odd land shape of eastern Washington and Oregon. He found huge ripple marks, dry canyons called coulees, and scablands, cut into basalt bedrock features he believed could only be made by a sudden, massive rush of water. First met with doubt, Bretz's idea got support as proof grew for a huge glacial lake in western Montana. Land scientist Joseph Pardee later confirmed such a lake had been and likely released up to 500 cubic miles of water in each outburst, enough to fill Lake Erie and Lake Ontario together. The ice dam that held Lake Missoula was made by the spread of the Cordilleran ice sheet, a continental glacier that reached from western Canada into the northern United States. When the dam failed, the water burst out at speeds near 60 miles per hour, with top flow rates guessed at 10 times the total flow of all modern rivers on Earth. The floods cut huge canyons, moved boulders the size of small houses, and left thick layers of silt and soil across what are now Washington, Oregon, and northern Idaho. One of the most interesting parts of these floods is that they didn't happen just once. Land proof suggests glacial Lake Missoula filled and drained many times, maybe dozens over a few thousand years. These cycles of flooding and refilling raise deep questions about the ice, dam's strength, and the climate conditions that caused each failure. Did warming trends weaken the glacier over and over? Or were other forces, like Earth heat activity or glacial quakes, behind these dramatic breaks? The size and rate of these floods stay areas of active study and debate. While early models said only a few floods, newer soil proof, like layered silt deposits called varves, near Missoula and the Touche in Washington, point to many more events. Some studies suggest floods happened about every 30 to 70 years, while others say more uneven times. Understanding the rhythm of these events is key to rebuilding Ice Age climate patterns and glacial behavior, which then informs models of future glacial melt risks as modern ice sheets pull back. Despite growing clarity of the basic land story, several mysteries remain. One is the way the dam broke. While melting seems an obvious cause, some researchers have pointed to the chance of water pressure building under the ice dam until it lifted and broke catastrophically, a process like modern J-school clubs in Iceland. Another unsolved issue is the true size of the flooding. Some flood paths suggest water flowed not only through the Columbia River basin, but also through other channels, hinting at flood volumes even bigger than current models allow. Even more puzzling are the giant ripple marks kept near Camas Prairie, Montana. These underwater dunes, some reaching 50 feet high and hundreds of feet apart, are visible from the air and show some of the most dramatic, direct proof of the floodwater's power. Their huge size challenges our understanding of how fast and deep the water must have been. Likewise, the presence of large ice-rafted boulders, found hundreds of miles from their start, gives more proof of the amazing forces at work during these floods. The Lake Missoula floods were not only destructive, but also changing. They made new environments, cut out river valleys, and left fertile soils that support farming in the Pacific Northwest to this day. Their mark also reaches into modern fields of climate science, water flow study, and disaster modeling, serving as a natural lab for understanding how sudden glacial melt events can reshape continents and change climates. The Montana Stonehenge stories, circles in the shadows of history. In the world of American folklore and unsolved mysteries, Montana holds a quiet but strong entry. Stories of mysterious circular stone lines hidden deep in its huge wilderness, often called the Montana Stonehenge. These said shapes bring comparisons to England's famous prehistoric monument because of their size or building, but due to the mystery, star links, and spiritual views around them. While no formally checked site has ever been recorded, the story stays through word-of-mouth reports, amateur trips, and a growing file of digital-age guesswork. What comes out is not so much a confirmed archaeological site, but a cultural thing, showing humanity's lasting interest in the ancient, the unexplained, and the sacred geometry of the natural world. The start of the Montana Stonehenge story is hard to trace, largely because it is rooted in spoken reports, broken stories, and unverified claims. Over the years, hikers, hunters, and backcountry explorers have described finding arrangements of stones in circles, spirals, or ray patterns, often on far hillsides or forest clearings. These shapes are said to have standing stones, some chest-high, others much smaller, placed with strange exactness. Some tellers insist the stones line up with star events like the solstices or equinoxes, giving the spots possible star or ceremony use. Others describe eerie, quiet, odd electromagnetic readings, or an unexplainable sense of worry upon visiting these places. Though these claims are generally unsupported by physical proof or peer-reviewed archaeological study, they keep drawing amateur archaeologists, spiritual seekers, and alternative history lovers. Websites, blogs, and online boards are filled with photos of suspiciously placed rocks. GPS points to possible sites, and ideas ranging from prehistoric native rights to ancient alien visitors. In many cases, however, professional archaeologists have not been able to check the truth of these claims, leading most in the academic world to treat them with careful doubt. Despite the lack of official note, the story may be loosely tied to Montana's real, prehistoric and Native American heritage, which includes rock, circles, and lines. The Plains tribes, including the Blackfeet, Crow, and Shoshone, made stone tipi rings, medicine wheels, and vision quest sites, many of which involved putting rocks in planned patterns. Some of these structures go back hundreds or even thousands of years, though they were usually more modest and symbolic in use than megalithic buildings like Britain's Stonehenge. It is possible some coded Montana Stonehenges are misidentified native sites or natural rock shapes that happen to show some look of pattern. The human brain is very likely to pareidolia, the habit to see patterns or meaning in random arrangements. In this light, a group of naturally fallen stones or glacial leftovers may be seen as planned structures, especially when met in alone and emotion-filled settings. Still, some parts of the reports are hard to ignore fully. In a few cases, stone arrangements have reportedly been found at high places or remote areas where human activity, modern or ancient, would be hard. Some photos show upright stones partly buried and balanced in ways that suggest purposeful placing, though none of these finds have been completely proven or accepted by professional archaeologists. They keep the mystery alive, calling for more structured looks. The lasting draw of the Montana Stonehenge stories may have less to do with physical proof and more with what they stand for. These tales tap into a basic human interest in ancient wisdom, hidden histories, and the thought that forgotten peoples may have once known things we have yet to find again. Whether imagined or real, stone circles mean a link to star cycles, the natural landscape, and human awareness. In this way, the story becomes a cultural item itself, part of the bigger fabric of Montana's mystical and archaeological identity. From a social view, the rise of interest in such sites can be linked to wider cultural trends, disenchantment with modern life, the search for spiritual truth, and the mixing of science with myth in the digital age. As people spend more time online, they are also drawn to physical places that offer mystery and beyond. The Montana wilderness, with its far mountains, ancient land science, and few people, works as a perfect canvas for this kind of modern myth.